It's time to welcome a former Blades goalkeeper who represented the club between 2016 and 2021. Part of the 100 Club, a man who kept 23 clean sheets in 70 appearances, the ever-popular Simon William Moore. Thank you for joining me on the Sheff United Way. Simon Moore, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Yeah, pleasure to be here. Obviously, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? But we've managed to get something sorted, mate, and now I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I first saw you at West Brom away. It was a really, really hot night. It convinced me that day to stop wasting my life going to every game home and away and to move to a hot country, because it wasn't the best game, that's for sure.
Mate, to be fair, I mean, the weather is stinking, so I think you've made the right choice.
Well, tell me about what it was like growing up in the Isle of Wight, and I mean the whole experience and the weather.
It was lovely, mate. Like, I was very lucky. It's a very safe place to grow up, myself and my brother. Obviously, a bit unique, really, when you tell people you're from the Isle of Wight, they ask you whether you need a passport, whether you pay tax over there, whether you're English. You get asked all sorts of questions, mate. You think you're some sort of alien, but no, I loved it. Literally, it was so safe. Nowhere was far from anywhere. Lovely, safe place to grow up, and many fond memories growing up there. Yeah.
And do you feel it was helpful or a hindrance to your football career being brought up on the Isle of Wight?
It probably was a hindrance, to be honest, because obviously the local teams to us are Portsmouth, Southampton, and Bournemouth, and unfortunately you have to get a boat to get off the island. So when I was at Southampton, when I was 12, I used to have to get the boat on a Wednesday night. My dad would take me. We would drive to the boat, park up, get a boat over, get a taxi, train, get a taxi back, get a boat, come back. Which is obviously very expensive as well. So I would always be grateful for my parents for supporting me through them tough times. I remember seeing my dad stood there on like freezing cold nights, peeing it down with rain, and then we'd have to get the boat back, and we'd get back late, and then he'd go to work the next day. So yeah, it's definitely a hindrance. So it's quite unique again that say myself and my brother managed to escape the island and play football really.
So your dad had to do that with you, and then a few years later he had to do it with Stuart.
He had to do it with Stu as well, yeah. So yeah, mum and dad they used to drive up to London and stuff to watch games when I was playing for Southampton. So I was only there for a season, but again, say the expense and everything like that would have been astronomical. So very fortunate to have had such a supportive mum and dad to help us through with that.
I mean, the age difference between you and Stuart, I'm just thinking about when you were kids, like, did you and your brother take it in turns to fire shots at each other as you were both keepers, or because you were so much older, would that always have been a bit unkind?
No, we always like took it in turns, and we used to play random games in the garden. Like, to be fair, Stu will admit this, but when I was younger, I'd be the one trying to drag him over the field to do extra goalkeeping and trying to get dad. I'd always be on him. Dad, go over the field, do some training. And Stu was the opposite, really. He'd want to sit there and play his PlayStation and listen to the Rasmus, I think it was at the time. So, but I mean, as he's got older, I mean, he works so hard, and obviously he's at Morecambe now, and he started the season really well. And he used to be. Me and him used to do gym sessions, and again, I used to be stronger than him. But now the tables have turned, and he's real strong, real fit, and he works really hard. But yeah, we used to play cricket in the garden, football in the garden. We had like a two-tiered garden, so we'd have a trampoline at the top, a goal down the bottom, and a fish pond in the middle. And we used to take it in turns to throw balls on the trampoline, do like side volleys, and try and score. And then when you scored 3 goals, the other one would go on the trampoline, the other one would go and goal. We just made up mental. You know what it's like when you're a kid, you make mental games up. So yeah, it was probably all those times in the garden probably paid off, to be honest.
I mean, they say that the more sports you can play, the more it'll actually help you in professional football, having all these sort of different skills. You're creating your own sports, so you were covered.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you'd call that game, but I mean, so we played all sorts. Like I said, yeah, cricket I was a massive cricket fan, still am. Growing up, loved playing cricket. Love golf. Golf's probably my favourite now. But yeah, just any sport really. I'd always give it a good go. And then you realise that you're not actually that great, and when you come across people who are really good. So.
Well, we've had Matt Fitzpatrick on this channel, obviously a massive Sheffield United fan, and if you ever want some tips from the master, I'll put you guys in touch. And also, we need to get you out here as well, where I am in Cyprus, to play some of the courses here, because there's some absolutely fantastic ones. And also, you never need to worry about the weather. I haven't seen rain for 4 months.
Oh mate, that's unreal. Honestly, I would not be complaining at that. And now Fitzy, I've been lucky enough to meet him a couple of times, and he's a lovely lad, fantastic work ethic, and it's just so good to see him do so well. He's a top lad.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about how you actually got your start in professional football. You've already mentioned Southampton, and I also want to know, were you always a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I was always a goalkeeper. Growing up in the Isle of Wight, my dad was a manager of a local football team called 𝗵𝗿𝗻𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 Loved it, lived for it. Just loved being involved and watching the games. And there was a goalkeeper there called Steve Lawton who I idolised as a young lad. I used to stand behind his goal. He used to give me his gloves, and I just grew up with football. Literally, my dad absolutely loves it. I loved it when I was younger. Like literally, just lived and breathed football. That's all I ever wanted to do. So I was very, very lucky, and also in that changing room, there's a few characters, and I got quite a good grounding and good sort of understanding of the football dressing room from a very young age.
And so how did you go from, because you said it was a year at Southampton, to then really getting your break?
Yeah, so I mean, I was playing locally for Braden youth team, and I think someone put my name forward for a trial at Southampton. Ended up going there for a year, and I got released because I was too small, but it was definitely a polite way of saying you're not good enough. And yeah, that was really difficult as a 12-year-old getting released, but it was the right decision. I definitely wasn't good enough, but it was a fantastic experience, and I was really lucky to work with the first team goalkeeping coach who was 𝗵𝗿𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗃, who's one of the best coaches I've ever worked with. And then 10 years later, I signed on loan for Bristol City, and 𝗂𝗂𝗃 was the goalie coach there, which was mad, to be honest. But yeah, he's one of the best coaches I've ever worked with, and that experience was incredible. Really, I've gone from the Isle of Wight, just sort of people pelting balls at you, to actual proper goalkeeping training. And then yeah, I've just played non-league until I was 19. I had about 6 or 7 jobs in that time. I left school, worked for 𝗵𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗲 Ferry Company, was a cashier at the Halifax. I was a tomato picker. I did deck chair collecting. I was a waiter. And then my last job was a teaching assistant at a school with special needs children. And yeah, I was playing non-league at the time. So I was working at school during the day, playing non-league sort of on the weekends, and someone put me forward for a trial at Brentford. Went for a 3-week trial, and that was 15 years ago. So yeah, a unique way into football, but one that I would definitely not change, because I'm quite fortunate that I think I got to live my life when I was younger instead of going through that academy setup. I enjoyed my football. I played in the league. I went out at the weekends. I sort of had a different route in, but one that I wouldn't change. Whereas obviously my brother, he was at Reading as a scholar, and he went sort of through the more traditional route. And there's no right or wrong route of it. And I probably would have loved to have done that, but I say didn't have the opportunity. And that's just the way it went. But again, I wouldn't change it. I'm really, really grateful for the way that I've sort of come into football, really.
Do you think, because you've worked those jobs, and some footballers don't ever get to do, I don't want to say a proper job because I don't really like saying that, but you know what I mean? You've done these roles that are non-traditional. Do you think you then really appreciate when you get into the game? Because of course, footballers do have this lifestyle, which is enviable for many, as you get to get paid to keep fit. A lot of people pay a huge amount for a gym membership, and then you get quite a lot of time as well to actually enjoy whatever you actually enjoy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that especially in difficult times where I've maybe not been involved and stuff, like I try not to moan and realise how fortunate I am to be in the position I am. So obviously at the moment at Coventry, I'm sort of pretty much out of the picture, but I'm not going to moan because, like you said there, I get paid to keep fit and train. And I look back to when I was 18, 19, working these jobs that I didn't want to work, thinking, wow, I am really, really grateful now. And yeah, that probably keeps me grounded, to be honest. So instead of sort of wrecking sessions and being a nightmare and being miserable, I try and look at it from a positive point of view and say, okay, I might not be involved at the moment, but I'm still going to go in, still going to train hard every day, still going to be the best I possibly can be, because I could be in a lot worse position.
And if you're always ready, when that opportunity comes round, and it always will, again, you will be ready. And every Sheffield United fan watching this will know there's one keeper we could always rely on that was always ready. It was Simon Moore. And actually, you did play with someone who has a really interesting backstory, Richard Lee at Brentford, a man who has written columns, books, been on multiple TV programmes, even Dragon's Den, I remember. How clever is he?
Yeah, Rich is a clever guy. He's a very ambitious guy as well. I believe he's in the football agency route now, and it's going really well. And yeah, no, I had a really good relationship with Rich when I was younger, and he was probably the first one that got me into the psychological side of goalkeeping, and he helped me a lot during my time at Brentford.
Who do you think has had the biggest impact on your entire career?
I mean, my biggest motivators for me, and the reason I do what I do, are my parents. I literally say I am so fortunate to have such unbelievable mum and dad. I know everyone says it's a cliche and stuff, but genuinely, I wouldn't be where I am today without them, and they are my probably biggest motivation. Obviously, Stu Boy as well. Like, I'm very proud of him. And everything he's done, and he's had it quite difficult at times, but he's always worked his nuts off, and he's still playing football now, and he's been playing for a long time. So yeah, and obviously also Steve Lawton, who I used to go and watch at Brady, was a massive influence on me, because I just used to love going to watch him. So yeah, in terms of idols, like no real sort of big like sporting greats or whatever. Just sort of, yeah, more family and friends, to be honest.
I love that answer. And what about you and your brother? Did you support the same football team growing up, or did you like try and pick a different one each?
I think he supported Man U. I supported Man U growing up, but I used to love David Beckham. And
what? As a goalkeeper?
Yeah, as a goalkeeper, so mad.
The man who was famous for lobbing a goalkeeper in one of his best goals.
I know, it's weird. But like on the Isle of Wight, they used to have a Man United soccer school every year.
Yes, I heard about this.
If you won it, you got to go up and train at the Cliff training ground. And I was lucky enough to win it one year, and I remember going up there, and it was amazing. Just an unbelievable experience. And yeah, like just I say, I think I always wanted to play football and lived and breathed it, and say I'm lucky enough to have had that opportunity.
And you think your brother supported Man U?
I think he did. Yeah, I'm not really. Do you know what? I should know.
You have to message him later. I know we're close, but which football team did you actually support?
I think I remember him wearing a Man U shirt. It might have been one of my knockdowns, though. So whether or not he actually did support him, I'm not sure. So, but no, I will. As soon as this finishes, I'm going to text him and ask him.
So fair to say, Stuart, not a diehard. We can't actually remember who it was. I've actually covered the Island Games in my professional capacity as a broadcaster, and I know all about the Island Games. And you played for Isle of Wight at the games. And I just thought that was a really amazing little side story, because tell us exactly what they are for those not familiar and your experience of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was, to be honest with you, it's a strange experience, because you have to pay. I think I had to pay a few £100 to go. So it wasn't a case of probably being the best. It was who could actually afford to go, really. But no, at the time, I didn't really think anything of it. It was just like, I was just excited to play football, and it was really good. Like, I was quite young and quite naive at the time, so it was a strange old experience, but yeah, something that you could say you've represented the Isle of Wight, and obviously proud to do that.
That was in Finland in 2009.
Yeah, and do you know what? It was a really good tournament, to be fair. Like, we didn't do very well, but it was really well run. Just a great experience, really. Like I say, being a young lad, 18, I think it was. Like, going away and doing something like that. It was mad. Like, but yeah, it's a shame really. I was to say you had to pay to do it, and obviously it should be based on purely who's sort of like best, and it shouldn't really be anything to do with sort of finances and that really. So, but now, yeah, something I look back on and it's an experience.
Absolutely unique experience, as I often look back at it when I had to cover it as well, because it is an odd games. But anyway, people watching this are going to go, "How get to the Sheff United stuff?" So tell us, tell us about your move to the Blades. How did that come about?
So I was at Cardiff at the time, and had 2 years left on my contract, and I wasn't playing. I was on the bench with David Marshall, and David Marshall was incredible goalkeeper. Probably, I think he'll admit his best form was at Cardiff. And I wasn't going to get Marshy out of the team. I was 26 years old, and I was sort of going through a little bit of a difficult time off the pitch as well, when I just wanted to get away and get a fresh start. And as soon as the opportunity come to Sheff United came up, it was one that I absolutely jumped at, because I played against Sheff U loads of times, and I always loved coming to Bramall Lane. So, and I think that's probably a reason why Sheffield were in League One for longer than they should have been, because teams used to come to Bramall Lane and used to raise their game, and I certainly did. Like, turning up there going, wow, how's this team in League One? Like, stadium's unbelievable and atmosphere was class, and it was a place where I loved playing. So yeah, when the opportunity got to come up to actually play for them, I was like, yeah, this is something I want to do. And I'll be honest, I had to take like quite a significant wage cut to come to the club. But at the time, I wanted to play football. I was hungry and ambitious to do that, and obviously it was the best decision, probably football-wise, that I've made.
Really respect that. You paid to play in the Island Games, and then you took a wage cut to join Sheffield United. We're getting the impression, the right one as well, that football actually matters more to you. And I think a lot of fans will be able to relate to that and respect that. And I want to know about, because there's a few that I can think of, your highlight of your time playing for the Red and White Wizards.
Our League One season, without a doubt. Like, that year was the best season. That obviously personally it went really well, but just for everything, for me at that time in my life, I said I had a few things going on off the field, and things just, as soon as I moved up to Sheffield, things just started to go from strength to strength and just got better and better. It was just a special season. Like, I remember our first game at Millwall away, we obviously lost 2-1. We were bottom of the league, and I was thinking, Christ, in a bit of trouble here. But from then on, just never looked back, and it was just that first season, everything, the lads, the group, the fans, it was almost like a transitional stage for the football club. I think that they'd obviously been frustrated at being in League One for quite a few years, and it was almost like a weight had been lifted, and obviously I don't think the club's looked back really.
Was there a part of you thinking in that 2016-17 season, at the start of the season, you're thinking, I've been in dressing rooms where it hasn't been as good as this, where the lads haven't been as good, there hasn't been as a great a group, and we've got results, and yet the start of that season was really troubling, really worrying, and then of course we turned it around. But were you initially thinking, I don't understand this, I don't know why we're not winning?
Yeah, I mean, I'd always wonder why. Like, I remember the times you used to be able to bet on football. Obviously, you can't anymore. But I'd always put Sheffield in my accumulator, thinking, surely they're going to win in League One, and they'd quite often let me down. And it was only until I actually played for them, thinking, well, every team that comes here raises their game. And from the outside looking in, obviously you're thinking, how's this team not getting promoted? But it's because teams would come to Bramall Lane and they'd raise their game without a shadow of a doubt, and that's why it was so difficult to get out of that league. And I say, thankfully, obviously, we did get out of it. And yeah, after the first 4 games, I mean, I signed. I think I missed the first 2 or 3 games, and then obviously signed. We played Millwall away. But yeah, I mean, the quality that we had in that dressing room just goes to show. Even the boys in next season we was right up there in the championship, especially at the start of the season. And then obviously 𝗬𝗂𝗂 broke his leg, and that was a big factor of that season. It was a real shame to lose him because he was in the form of his life. And then obviously the season after got promoted, and there was still the same boys there. He still had the likes of obviously 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗄𝗏, Jack O'Connell was playing, like all the lads that were still there were still playing, and Like, it just goes to show what good quality it was. But also as well, the dressing room was such a good dressing room to be in. Lads was like great bunch of lads, and that gets you a massively long way. So we've got that here at Coventry, especially last season as well. Obviously got to the playoff final, but you don't just get there on talent alone. You have to get there on team spirit, and you need a good dressing room. And I've been very fortunate to be in some really good dressing rooms.
How do you say 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗃𝗏's surname? Is it Hamer or Harmer?
I call him Hamer, yeah.
Okay, good for you. And I was just wondering, when you arrived, I think it was George Long, I think, who was in net.
Yeah,
before.
Longy, yeah.
Now, what's it actually like? Because every other position on the pitch, you can possibly still both play, but you are in the only one where it's you or him. And you had clearly come in to take George's place. What is that like for you? And also, what is it like, do you think, for the previous incumbent?
Yeah, it must have been. It's always difficult when a new goalkeeper comes in and you know they're going to take your place. Everyone wants to be loved. It's not a nice feeling to be pushed to one side. My first experience with Longy was hilarious because I was at Brentford and I was on the bench, I think, in my second season. 𝗏𝗍𝗃 was in goal and he went down injured. So I've gone down to, at Bramwell Lane, this was, on a I think it was like a lunchtime kickoff on a Saturday. So I'm running down the touchline, warming up, and Longy's there as well. And I went, all right, mate. And he just blanked me. And I was thinking, Jesus, like, I was like a young, straight out of non-league, like thinking. So I spoke to him, so I was like, oh. And obviously, I'd sort of met a little bit since then. And then when I went in the dressing room, shook his hand, had a good chat, and then it was like, look, thanks. I said to him, I think, oh, I'm looking at this place, Tapton Mount Close. He says, oh, I live there as well. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, got chatting, and then I said to him, like, fancy going for a coffee. So we grabbed a coffee, and goalkeepers tend to get on with each other. Like, I've been fortunate enough to get on with every goalkeeper I've worked with, and Longy's one of my real close friends now. And I remember going for dinner at Gray's Inn down on Leckie Road with Longy, and we got talking about the same sort of feelings you have as a goalkeeper, the same sort of mental things that you go through. Obviously, Longy's the hardest working pro that I've ever come across, and he deserves everything that he gets out of the game. Like, he works so hard, and there's no wonder he's played so many games at the age he is. And yeah, I said to him, like we're talking about psychology, and he said, oh, have you read this book? I went, yeah. I said, have you read this book? He's like, yeah. And they just sort of just gelled, really. And if I'm being honest, like, that season in League One, he was better than me in training. A lot of the time, he was unbelievable. Like, some of the saves he used to make in the 5-a-sides and stuff, he was, but he worked really hard. And I think the season after that, he ended up going to AFC Wimbledon, and he had a blinding season. And the reason he did is because he kept working so hard. Even though he would have been disappointed and frustrated and not playing, he just kept himself ticking over, kept himself working really hard, and I say he deserves everything he gets out of the game.
Did you spot a young Aaron Ramsdale at the time, thinking this kid's going to go far?
Yeah, Ramos was there. So obviously, Longy got left out, and Ramos ended up going on the bench. I think for the first half of the season, and then got sold to Bournemouth. And no, Ramos, the best thing about Ramos was he was only a young lad, but he had something about him. He had character. He fitted in really well with the boys, and he was confident as well. Like, and it was nice. Like, he was just a real good, respectful young lad, and he's gone on obviously to do unbelievable things. And I'm really pleased for him because he's a top lad. We had a great little group there. It was me, Longy, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Ramos, and I think there's a picture of us in the Gray's Inn one night. I think we all got together and went for a meal, and ended up going to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 rooms after for a few drinks, I think. And it's class. Just again, just a great group. And Wardy was a fantastic goalkeeping coach. You look back at the sessions that he did, and they were really, really good. His attention to detail was first class. And yeah, say that first season was just brilliant, really. And I could talk about so much, but obviously the season after, Jamal come in, and Jamal was a great lad. Obviously, I knew that I got injured at the start of that season. Jamal come in, done really well, kept his place, and I think I got the shirt back. And then he come in. There's a little bit of sort of tossing and turning, but we got on really well. And again, Hendo come in the season after, and I don't think Hendo needs any introduction. Like, he was phenomenal, and I got on again. I keep in touch with Dean now, really close friends with him, and so I'd say just fortunate enough to get on with everyone, and even the boys that have come in to take my place as well. So, but as goalkeepers, you have to get on because you work with each other every day. Like I think maybe a little while ago, there'd be a little bit of needle between goalkeepers, but certainly not now. I don't think. I think that people realise that you have to get on because you're working together, and ultimately as well, you want the team to win. Like the more successful the team are doing, the more it looks good for you that you're part of a successful team. So you need to be pushing and working hard, and of course you want to play, but at the end of the day, I say there's only one place, and if the other lads playing, then you got to support them just like they support you.
There is only one place, and you were actually named in that place in the PFA League One Team of the Year, of course, after leading Sheffield United to promotion. So a highly successful time for you, a highly successful time for the club. Were you in the best form of your career around this time?
That's a really good question, to be fair. I was in good form, yeah. Yeah, I was in good form. I think that probably I had a really good season at Brentford when I was younger. I think my sort of breakthrough season when I was sort of 22, that was a real. I remember having a mental game against Sheffield United actually on a Tuesday night. We drew 2-2. It was just a mad game. I made one of the best saves I've ever made in my life. 94th minute, I think, tipped it on the post, and again I just loved it. I loved playing at Bramall Lane. It was class. Loggy was in goal the other end actually. But yeah, I think he saved the penalty that night. So, but yeah, probably. I mean, Brentford breakthrough season. I look back now and it's weird as you get older. You look back and you go, I don't know how I saved that. Like you just played with pure instinct. And yeah, that season I think I was consistent that season. And then probably when I first moved to Cov, for the first 3 or 4 months, I was certainly in really good form. But yeah, in terms of consistency wise, probably that was definitely up there for me.
I literally just looked up that game you were talking about, taking me back. Wow, that was 2013, I think, this game you were referencing, 2-2.
Yeah, Bradley Wright Phillips scored, I think.
You got a better memory than me. I'll tell you what, I'll test you on this one. Who was Sheffield United manager?
Danny Wilson?
Game? Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? And that's what I would have guessed
Morgan,
as well.
Maybe?
Yes.
Chris Morgan,
the football agent, Chris Morgan.
Chris Morgan, yeah.
Well done.
I remember it, yeah, mad.
What was actually, we'll talk about managers. What was your relationship like with Chris Wilder?
Yeah, I go on really well. I mean, to be fair, I find it hard not to get on with people, to be fair. But
I'm getting
it was, I mean, what an unbelievable job he did at the club. Like, taken from League One to the Premier League, and obviously being from Sheffield himself he must have sat there sometimes thinking, "Wow, this is unbelievable." But no, he just got a great group of lads together. No messing about with him, and obviously, I say for the first season, couldn't have asked for any better, really. But yeah, I got on great. I remember like he lived local to me in Broom Hill at the time, and I remember going down on a Sunday to meet a couple of lads for a few beers, and quite often I'd see him in New York, and I'd go in and have a couple of beers with him. And yeah, no, I would say I'll always be grateful to him for giving me the opportunity to play for the football club.
You can't mention goalkeepers, but who were your Blades pals during your time at the club?
Well, obviously 𝗵𝗍𝗶𝗶. Literally, first day I went in, for some reason I just went and sat next to him, shook my hand, shook his hand. For that day, been pretty much best mates really. Like it's just mad. I've shared some incredible experiences with Bill on and off the pitch, and he's a special character, Bill. Like he really is. He lived and breathed that football club, and he's a leader. He's a born leader, and he was a massive influence on everything that went on at the time. If there was a team night out, he'd make sure everyone was there. He'd organise everything. He'd sort everything. Any new person moving to the club, he'd help out. Like, and there's the little things that obviously probably the fans don't see. Bill did it, like, and what he's done for the football club is incredible. Like,
absolutely.
And it's just his passion, like, is infectious. You wanted to do well for him. Like, it'd make you want to do well. Like, he was an inspirational character, and I I say someone I'm fortunate enough to call a friend. And more recently, I've got really close with 𝗵𝗿𝗱𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 he's someone who not just had an unbelievable career, but he's also a fantastic character and a lovely, lovely man. So again, fortunate enough to be able to call him a friend as well.
Both players that have carried on playing as well into the twilight years of their career, and maybe you can have more adventures with Bill because he might invite you out to Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to go on holiday. So yeah, I mean, if he ends up obviously staying, then I'll certainly be going out to see him.
Well, you're going to have your choice, aren't you? You're going to come golfing with me or go and see La La Land with the skip. I won't be offended, by the way, because I think I know which I'd choose.
Hey, both great propositions, to be fair. So
yeah, and they've got some pretty good golf courses in America as well. So, do you still look out for Sheffield United's results?
Yeah, definitely. No, I've still got a lot of friends there now. Still great lads there. Like I say, 𝗵𝗱𝗶𝗲, Boulders, like all the lads, all the lads I played with, great lads. And yeah, of course, I still look out for their results and incredible team. Like it's great to see the club doing so well.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And of course, as mentioned, I saw you at a game. So the fact that you came to watch Sheffield United in your downtime, I think says a lot about how much obviously the club meant to you, and also you'd known that fans were going to give you a good reception, because that's not always guaranteed. I was at Milton Keynes Dons away, and Paddy Kenny was watching us there. And not everyone was as friendly as they would have been with you. He left under very different circumstances. And yourself, when we talk about the end, how did it come about that you left United? Was it a case that maybe there had been something on the cards earlier and it was finally the time to go? Maybe agents had mentioned something in the past, or was it a case that you actually were saying, right, I want first team football?
No. It was pretty. I think my time at the club had come to an end. I was obviously sort of like third choice, even sort of like even not getting involved in squads for my last season. And you sort of know yourself that it's probably time to move on. And the opportunity come about to come to Coventry. I was made quite aware of it fairly early on, and it was a great opportunity for me. It was playing in football in the Championship, to go there and play, and it was something that I couldn't turn down. And I was obviously sad to leave Sheffield United because I had so many fond memories, but I look back on them memories with great sort of fondness and happiness. And it was the right time to move on. And yeah, I say like it was difficult though, because I say I loved it. I absolutely loved my time there, and I say it's something that I will always look back on with great happiness.
Yeah, as will we with your time, and of course part of the 100 club. No one can ever take that away from you. And a PFA League One team of the season, that must be right up there. I mean, what is the career highlight?
Yeah, I mean that season for me, obviously, like personally, to get in the team of the year, to get promoted with 100 points, and yeah, it was definitely right up there for me. And I mean, even sort of getting promoted to the Premier League a couple of years later, even though I wasn't involved an awful. I was on the bench I think I was on the bench 46 games. I was on the bench every game behind Hendo. But just to be part of that and to have the opportunity to be involved in the Premier League was incredible. Really, it was something that I went to Cardiff when they were in the Premier League, but I didn't really get a look in and wasn't really involved much. So to get that at Sheffield was class. And lots of success. And I mean, to be fair, I say I only really had one full season, played sort of half a season in the Championship and the odd handful of games here and there. So I didn't play very many games. So to have the sort of connection that I had with the fans, and that was, I say, I'm really, really grateful for it, because when we come back with Coventry a couple of years ago and we drew 0-0, I'll never forget coming out at half time, running down to the Kop and getting the reception I did, and almost had a lump in my throat really, because I say I didn't play that many games for the club, but I think when I did, I always gave 100%, and I always supported the other goalkeeper who was there at the time as well. So it's nice that sort of didn't go unnoticed really.
Sheffield United fans will always love a player that gives 100%, and you just hit the nail on the head. You also got to play against, now I know it, the team you supported twice.
Yes. I mean that was obviously, I'm really proud to make my Premier League debut something that everyone dreams of as a child. And yeah, Christ, what a game to do it. Stood there 2-0 up, 75 minutes, thinking, playing against a team I supported, Premier League debut, clean sheet on the cards. And I think 8 minutes later, we're 3-2 down. I was thinking, Jesus Christ. But yeah, it was difficult because I had played for 3 months, I think. And as a goalkeeper, it's really hard you can do as much training as you like, but you can't beat that sort of, that game time. And it's a bit like playing golf, really. If you don't play for ages, your short game's all over the place and you feel a bit rusty here and there. But yeah, that was probably the most difficult thing. I felt that obviously I didn't really do myself justice. Obviously, I gave it my absolute all, but it would have been nice to be going into that on the back of playing a few games. But wow, yeah, unbelievable experience. Drew 3-3. Atmosphere at Watchalong was immense, and yes, again, something that I'm proud of being able to do.
Yeah, the away game not quite the same because of course there was no fans there, so it just, I mean, what was it like playing in Stadia with no fans?
Horrendous. I don't care what it was. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was.
I'm glad you're honest.
Rubbish. Yeah, I can't lie. It was terrible. Like playing the games with no, and especially like it was a shame really because it was, you wanted to play these games in front of fans and with the fans there. So yeah, not a great sort of experience really, and real strange time. One that hopefully, touch wood, we'll never have to go through again.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. Not want that again. Modelling the goalkeeper's kit each season, that was something you became synonymous with. It wasn't a goalkeeper's kit until Simon Moore had modelled it. In fact, since then, I think the sales of goalkeeping kits have plummeted. Was that something you actually enjoyed?
It's just something that they always asked me to do. So I don't know. I wasn't really playing a lot at the time. I was usually, say, number 2 behind Hendo. So I don't know if it's. I'll take it as a compliment. It's sort of a running joke, really, that every time there was a kit launch and it was the joke that I'll be doing it. I was surprised they didn't get me back to do it when I signed for Cov, to be honest with you.
That's what we said. That's what we all said. It didn't look right. Look, Jake Easton's did a wonderful job, but it's not Simon Moore. Have you actually done that elsewhere at any other clubs, like always modelling the kit?
I don't think so. No,
it's just a Blades thing.
Just a Blades thing. Yeah, it's pretty mad.
That's ours. That's ours.
Love it. But so, yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
It was. We love it. What do you see yourself doing? I'm asking this with maybe a few years still to go, particularly if you fancy doing what Jags and Bill have done. But when your playing career does end, what does Simon Moore want to do?
I'm going to be a goalkeeping coach.
Great.
I've done my B licence outfield. I've done my B licence goalkeeping, and I've been lucky enough to work with quite a few goalkeeping coaches over the years. So, and also like helping people as well. I want to be able to help goalkeepers. I've stood in that goal. I know how it feels. I know the pressures, and I want to be able to help whoever I'm working with be the best they can possibly be. And yeah, I just like helping. And I've worked with the England goalkeeper coach. I've worked with Wardy. I've worked with the Man United goalie coach. I've worked with quite a few coaches, and I think I'll sort of take a little bit of each one into my own sort of style. And that's something that I'm looking forward to, if I'm being honest. Like, hopefully, I say touch wood, I've got quite a few more years left yet to play on the pitch. But when that time does come, it's something that I look forward to.
Well, when Billy Sharp comes back to be Sheffield United manager, I can think he'll probably answer the phone if you say, listen, Skip, I wouldn't mind being the Blades goalkeeping coach.
He's going to be a great manager as well, Bill. I know that he will. I know he's done his A licence, and I know it's something that when it does come to the end, it's something he's interested in doing. So, yeah, he's going to be a good manager.
Let's come back to this conversation. I think a few years' time, who knows when, and I guarantee this is the first time that seed was sown, but I'm pretty confident as well that will happen. And as you already know, Simon, you'll be very welcome back at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. We hopefully actually get you to a game at the Lane that you can come and watch in the future. And also good luck as well with the rest of your playing career, as well to Stuart as well. When you actually message him and find out who your brother supported, you can let him know that I wished him well as well. And I want to thank you for your time. Thank you, Simon. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate.